Well, morning, good afternoon, good evening, and I would highly say good night to anyone who's watching in the night. We are here to understand why is Trump traveling to China. Well, something that's based on the internet, keeping it like in uncomfortable mode, like asking why the trip right now and why is he taking over, let's say, 50 CEOs of the biggest companies. What's the architecture behind the right now time for Trump having a visit to Xi Jinping with all these tech leaders? Actually, it's kind of intimidating, but let's break it down in this video. Well, in the first place, we should try to understand that why is Trump traveling to China? Well, there have been rumors, as you can see over here, saying that Trump's likely to break a deal with China of a trillion US dollar, maybe to allow Chinese companies to build their industries in the US, like he wants like to build in the US, maybe to allow China to be building their own cars or automotives into the US, and had some backfire. Like you can see like some leaders coming up saying that they shouldn't be allowing CCP to be accessing the US industry, real estate in one way or the other. But let's try to understand in what category. I don't think even Trump is happy about the trip he's heading to for China, because he's the last person he should be conducting for anything like assistance in one or the other. Because we should all try to understand Trump has of this right now situation. I just need to watch this video with an open mind. He doesn't seem to own the cards, or does he really do? We should try to understand in the last month of April, he posed the tariffs. Well, that's after the bonds massively raising high or getting out of hand in one or the other. We should try to understand why right now, and why is this taking place in such a category or in such a scenario. To understand what's taking place, it's two scenarios where the CEOs are heading to China and where is Trump heading to China, because they are all two have to different ideologies or concepts or motives in one or the other. The first motive will be, let's first break down the US bond market. As of today, we should try to understand that the 30-year yield is above 5%. If you think that's small, that's not really that the way. Let's look at the 10-year yield. The 10-year yield as of today is around 4.5%. 4.5%, and that's actually the bond market yield that we use to look at interest rates. If you look at the US market, the bond market, because the bond market today shows the real state of the US economy. Institutes like Moody have came out and rated the US economy down, keeping it thriving it, like showing like it's no longer safe havens, from a triple A to a double A. Very soon it's like to be a single A. Yes, it has not yet been rated down to a single A, but likely very soon, if situation doesn't change. You should try to understand the bond market right now is kind of in a scenario where we would say like the Fed is cornered one or the other. It doesn't matter if they are either raising interest rates or lowering interest rates. They have a US debt that's almost beyond its GDP ratios. Because if you look at the GDP ratios of the US economy to its debt, that's almost 130% or 120%, something of that kind. Those are huge numbers. And the worst part, there's nothing that shows like a slogan of finding ways of paying off these debts. The question is like, is the US heading for a defaulting scenario? Is the US heading to likely to be snatching off and say like, I'm not gonna pay anyone who invests in the US treasuries? That's how it sounds like. Let's understand why are the tech giants heading to China one or the other. We should try to understand where I'm saying this kind of. You should try to understand why are the tech giants likely to be heading in China one or the other. China has two or three things that it really has in power and all over the world. Well, that's rare earth, and that's copper, and that's silver. And has the biggest refiners, especially of rare earth. Regardless how Trump was saying we cannot have rare earth material to be refined in the US. Australia tried to be offering him rare earth if they need rare earth to do intake. You should try to understand where tech giants heading to China. Nvidia himself, or the CEO of Nvidia, because Trump just announced he'll be part of the pack that's heading to China. He can no longer sell a chip in China, one or the other. China is becoming auto-independent, one or the other. Whatever's gonna be coming out of the China meeting with Xi Jinping of China. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong to my China fans, but we should try to understand that whatever the meeting is gonna be playing, Trump has no card unless others just to watch the party how it's gonna be heading to. Why are all these CEOs heading to China? All their motives one, I would say. Either they are lacking raw materials access, like, let's say like rare earth, because that has been always, China has acted like in one or the other trying to, where we should say like, they're trying to minimize the amount of rare earth they are giving out. Or actually they are no longer exporting one or the other. China is of today's kind of declining exports one or the other because of the war that's going on in the Middle East. It can no longer access, let's say, materials like sulfur that has been collected in the Middle East to refine materials, let's say like copper, rare earth. So right now China is kind of edging back. The reason why they always see it was a kind of screwed in one or the other. China is dominating the Asian market, and China is looking one or the other. Where we should try to understand that such companies need to access rare earth. Right now they cannot, or they barely can with a little, but they do. I don't think really they access enough. China is controlling silver in one or the other. Access to silver is getting lower. That's the funny part. And the funny part, it's not like the way it shows up in the charts or like, because we should try to understand metals like silver are irreversible in one or the other. Let's say if they're used in tech, one or the other. It's not something like you can burn out and then reclaim like gold. We are looking at the verge where likely to be Trump is he's kind of cornered now, no the other. If you see anyone posting something like he's cornered, it's not because they're trying to create jokes. The US economy is kind of cornered. If you try to look at the debt itself, look at the dollar itself, has a reserve currency. Has a reserve currency is just likely to be heading back. It's just likely to be engulfing one or the other. It's used in the world economy. If you look at the Shanghai stock market right now, access to silver, copper is kind of getting dramatically low one or the other. The major reason why these CEOs are going to China, maybe to revise the terms of US and China, maybe to revise their access to raw materials. And again, don't be surprised when Trump tries to tell Xi Jinping to cut out Iran from buying his cheap oil, one or the other, maybe to go buy, because Trump, it doesn't matter either he owns the card or he doesn't own the cards. But you should all try to understand that one of the major reasons why these companies are heading to China is access to raw materials and maybe revise their terms with China in one or the other, because they need China in one or the other, good in good or bad, regardless how China could be dominating or having a surplus market with the US, and that has been always with many other countries. They need China in good or bad. Otherwise, let's just wait to see what's going to be coming out of the meeting and what could be their next suggestion, one or the other. Yeah, let's wait for the best. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.